How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffle and welcome back to a brand new video. Now today, guys, I want to do a little bit of a breakdown slash theory video about what Project Beluga is that Pixelpar mentioned, and also break down Pixelpar's tweets and see what this all this stuff is about, right? Now, before I get started, I want to give a quick shout out to two people who've already talked about this prior to me, and that is the King Nido 17, who actually, or King Nido 17, who specifically talked about this as well, and Slow Speedrun, who inspired me to talk about this as well and do this video. So shout out to those guys. I'm going to link their videos down below so you guys can go check them out. Either way, let's get started. Now, to begin with, we're going to talk about Pixelpar first, because some of you guys may not know who Pixelpar is. Well, Pixelpar, and I'm going to slow down my speedy talk here. So Pixelpar is this Twitter account, or this individual on Twitter, who's been kind of rumoring and hinting and also leaking, literally leaking, some information in the past. Now, he actually predicted the Nintendo Direct ahead of time, and he actually kind of like made this elaborate kind of, these elaborate hints throughout his tweets leading up to the Nintendo Direct, and he already predicted it a week ahead of time, which was very interesting in my honest opinion. But the thing though is, he's been right one time in the past where I've seen it personally, and some other times most likely as well, which I haven't really paid much attention to because maybe it related to something that wasn't Pokemon or Nintendo Switch, but mostly he does Nintendo Switch stuff. So why is this important, you may ask? Well, here's the thing, right? He's been hinting at a lot of things, and specifically about the Pokemon Switch game, and he posted this thing, right? He was doing this thing about like, oh, I know what the project name is for the Pokemon Switch game, and he finally revealed it because somebody figured it out through using, I think, this image right around here. Somebody used this image and figured out that the name of the game, or the name of the project rather, is Project Beluga. Now, what is a beluga, you may ask? Well, belugas are white whales. Now, I'm going to get down to why these white whales are important and why maybe the name of the maybe Project Beluga makes sense, right? Because you all remember Project Rainbow. Project Rainbow was the name, okay? Was the name of the Sun and Moon games. That was the project name for those games. And they've had project names in the past. So it was like Pokemon Rainbow or like Project Rainbow was the project name for that. And that makes sense because Hawaii is known as the Rainbow State as far as I remember. But now you may ask, okay, but what does Beluga connect to? What does Beluga have to do with anything? Well, I think I've kind of figured it out with the help of a few people on the internet as well. Now, I can't remember who mentioned this specifically, but somebody was mentioning that like, okay, belugas are white whales. Now, what do we know about white whales? Well, there's a lot of things, like, for example, a lot of stories about white whales. And one of those that is out there is about Moby Dick. Now, if you haven't read Moby Dick, well, go do that if you want to. But either way, so Moby Dick, is this story about a man going out there to essentially, I can't remember if it was revenge specifically, but like, he essentially wants to take out this giant white whale, essentially, and belugas are white whales. Now, specifically based on that story, the man is supposed to take out this white whale, but it's kind of this unattainable thing for him to do. The whale is giant. How is he supposed, this tiny man supposed to take out this giant whale? So it's known, essentially, like, not known, but rather, you have this equivalent to white whales being seen as the kind of, in a more, like, spiritual way, they're seen as kind of unattainable dreams, something you'll never be able to achieve, right? Something you can't reach. And that's where I'm kind of speculating about this. Like, I feel like I kind of understand it now, and I feel like I kind of get it. And I think I kind of want to show you what I'm talking about by looking at these images. So he talked about this, and I was like, okay, this image, there's something more to it, right? Because an unattainable dream, what does that even mean, right? What does an unattainable dream mean to you and me when it comes to Pokemon Switch? Well, what he's mainly most likely, referring to here, what they're referring to is that Pokemon Switch is this game that has so high expectations, these grandiose expectations of being this amazing, gigantic game, it's going to be revolutionary and whatnot, but that's not what we're going to get. We have these unattainable dreams that are not going to be reached. We have these giant, crazy theories about what it's going to be, but that's not what we're going to get. You know what I mean? That's what I think he's kind of hinting at here, and that's what Project Beluga is actually referring to. This unattainable dream that we're, these unattainable expectations from us, the consumers, of what this game is going to be, actually. That's what I think Project Beluga relates to, and I'm going to go into this image right here, because this is one of the latest, or rather one of the oldest images before he actually failed his bet. And now, before I continue here, there is an important thing you need to know about Pixelpar, and that is that he made a bet, a funny bet, right? 30 days ago, or rather more than 30 days ago now, because he already failed the bet. But the bet was that if Pokemon Switch doesn't get announced within 30 days, I'm going to draw all my tweets. Now, I think he just made that bet intentionally, and he knew he was going to lose it. Why do I think this? Because here's the thing, right? Now, if you look at his Twitter, he's drawing everything. Even this right here, this is a GIF, but he drew that GIF himself for the whatchamacallit, the Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus thing, right? And then you also have, like, this stuff, he literally draws all his tweets. Everything is drawn now, ever since the bet actually failed. But I think he did it intentionally. I actually think he did it intentionally, because he was already drawing stuff before the bet was even over. Already, like, 10 days in, or 9 days in, he was already drawing stuff, almost as if to prepare himself, because he knew he was going to fail it already ahead of time. It's kind of funny, and he's like, you all seem to like my post-it note drawings so much that I decided to redo it. It might, it might look a little bit better now. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. It's very much, to me, seems like he did it intentionally and knew he was going to lose the bet. And a lot of people are laughing at him, trying to be like, haha, you failed. Haha, now you have to draw all your tweets. I think he did it intentionally. Now, I could be wrong. This is just me putting the tinfoil hat on and just speculating here. Again, it's a theory. But, I don't know, it just feels very, very weird to me that this would, you know, have to do with anything else. But I want to go back to this image and about the unattainable dream that I was referring to, guys. And let's actually take a look at what this is actually about here. So, the first image up top here that you see is actually most likely Pixelpar, right? And I'm also sorry about any background noise. There's a family in the room right now. I do apologize, guys. I honestly can't do much about this. I've literally had to re-record this video 10 times. But either way, right there, as you can see, that is most likely Pixelpar. Then in the top right corner, over there, you will see that there's an image of, essentially 3 names, right? The first one is Celery, which I assume is supposed to be Cerebi. Then you have Pickle Jar, which is supposed to be Pixelpar. And then you have Uragamer, which is supposed to be Eurogamer, I would assume, right? And you have all these, you know, accounts tweeting and so on and so forth, right? You have them on Twitter, tweeting out, or tweeting around. And then you have, right down here, you have a white whale being dragged out of water by these little, you know, birds. I guess Twitter birds, you could almost say. That's just another thing I'm speculating. But, like, what I think this white whale represents, that is our expectations. Your and mine expectations, right? And then what ends up happening in the last picture is our expectations are broken, right? Our unattainable dream is pulled out of water and broken. And why? What does this mean? What would this be hinting at? Well, I think what he's trying to say to us is that we have these unattainable, you know, things that we're thinking of, all these unattainable dreams and, you know, things that we're assuming are going to happen. But in reality, those dreams are going to get broken eventually by Pokemon. And what is Pokemon? Well, that Pokeball. He threw that Pokeball because he wants to tell us that he's the one throwing this information at us, trying to tell us that you are having unattainable dreams. Pokemon is going to crush those dreams. Why? Because you are expecting too much, and that's what I feel like we've been doing for the longest time. People have been expecting way too much from this game. Open world, Breath of the Wild graphics, 150 new Pokemon, etc., etc., etc. People have been expecting a lot of things from this game, but I think what he wants to tell us here is that's an unattainable dream. That's not what we're going to receive. So, I don't know, guys. That's what I'm assuming this is supposed to hint at. I may be wrong, I may be right, I don't really know, but I want to know your opinions on it. Now, there is more stuff to talk about here. There was another thing that I want to mention, that is that he also did a tweet about, it's a bit late, but I'm happy to finally confirm that Pokemon Switch was/is undergoing localization. I think I was correct there. Either way, the previous job listings I mentioned were almost certainly for it. I can't provide evidence without throwing people under the bus, so you'll just have to trust me on this one. Now, this is actually information that's real. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, PokeExperto, which is another Twitter account, which you guys may know about, PokeExperto specifically tweeted out that the official Pokemon, webpage where they hire people from actually has localization jobs listed, and the only time they need localization jobs, like they hire new people, is when they're doing games or they're about to release a new game, and that's only done at the end of the development, right? When the games are usually done. The actual bulk of the development is done. And the thing is, those localization jobs were first put out back last year. Those localization jobs have been there since last year, and only around February did we see more of them added, and I think over the course of time, so in the last, since the start of this year, they've most likely already started the localization, been working on it, and it usually takes about 6 months or so to finish localization on a Pokemon game, on average. It could take longer depending on, troubles with schedules and that sort of stuff, or it takes too long for them to translate everything. If there's too much story, too many words, etc., it may take a bit longer time. But overall, other than that, we also know that specifically on the Pokemon job listing page, they removed one of the localization jobs, and that really just happens when they're done with that. Usually when that job is done or filled in and somebody's already doing it, or it's been finished off fully and you don't need somebody for that work anymore, you remove that job from there. And they've done that with one of the Spanish jobs. There's another Spanish job there, but the one that was there, the other one that was also there, is now removed. You can go to PokeExperto's Twitter and look through his tweets and you'll be able to find that. And I actually did a video about this the other day as well if you want to check that out. But in general terms, he seemed to be correct here, and this was prior to PokeExperto's tweets, by the way, about that stuff, about the updates. And then you also have this one right here, which is something I want to mention, because Slow Speedrun mentions specifically the phone up there in the corner, and this is another image right here. Now, this image hints to a theory that we've been having for a long time, and that is that Kanto's coming back. Specifically, Yellow is something that we've been seeing a lot of mentions about Pokemon Yellow recently. Why do I mention this? Because this character right here, the haha, our eyes meet, you know, that thing, you know, that word, those wordings, exactly, they are mentioned specifically in Pokemon Yellow. They actually are found in the text lines from Pokemon Yellow. Now, what's interesting about this kind of screen right here is that you can see the character, you know, doesn't actually have his Pokemon within the Pokeball. And this is something Slow Speedrun brings up, and that is, does this actually point towards maybe Pokemon not being in the Pokeballs, which would relate to the image that Pixelpar was the first to leak, which was the one of the Lapras in the water, where you can see all the Pokemon in the world. They're not actually in their Pokeballs, they're all in the world. You can see here with the player, this, not the player really, but rather the bug catcher kid here, he actually has his Butterfree outside of the Pokeball when he first sees you, and still it's still out of the Pokeball when he walks away. So does that hint at something? I don't know, because everything in these images could be hinting at something. And then you have the you know, a phone here where he's playing Pokemon Go, I assume, based on what like Slow Speedrun said, that it just looks like Pokemon Go on the phone. And hey, are you listening to me? 10 minutes later, this is just awkward. Let's go. And he walks away. Now this could either just be like pointing towards like how Pokemon has kind of changed in the sense of like now, you know, have people playing Pokemon Go where you just stand around and you don't have to encounter battles and you know, trainer battles and that sort of stuff. Or maybe it's hinting at a new feature or a new thing from the upcoming Pokemon games where basically you wouldn't have to even go into battle. You wouldn't even be forced into battles, but rather it would just be this thing where, hey, if you want to go into a battle, you can go into a battle. Or maybe, I don't know, it could be literally anything. But I want to kind of bring it up because honestly, I don't know what it means, but I want to know your opinions, guys. So you can figure this one out. I haven't been able to figure it out yet. I know something here. It relates to Pokemon Yellow in one way or another, but I want to know your opinions, guys, or anything else you can come up with. He also did talk about the stuff that came out about specifically Pokemon Rumble being, whatchamacallit, like being trademarked by Nintendo creatures and like Game Freak. That was, you know, trademarked and whatnot. And then also he's been talking about a bunch of other stuff here that you guys can go through. I'll link every single one of these tweets that I have on the image here, on the screen here, to you guys later. And also the oldest tweets he had, which were drawn, were these two. One of them is with red with the Pikachu, and then blue with the Eevee. And the only time you can have these two combinations is in Pokemon Yellow. You can only do it in Pokemon Yellow. So I don't know, guys. This is very odd. Like, it's very strange to me. Does this point towards something, or does it simply just not mean anything? I want to know your opinions, guys. What do you think about Project Beluga? What do you think about Pixelpar? Do you think anything of the stuff he's been saying is real, true, or whatever? Let me know your opinions in the comment section down below, guys. Either way, thank you so much for watching. My name is Rumour. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you all the next time. Bye-bye.